Periods. Let's talk about it, okay? And so that's what virgin actually means. It's just gotta stick together.
What do I always say?
Listen to your pussy.
She never lies.
Sister Strain here.
Your favorite feisty feminist filmmaking duo.
You're listening to The Sister Strain.
Okay, kids, today we're gonna talk about pleasure.
And the pussy.
Don't get scared,
No.
okay? Pleasure extends far beyond sex and sexuality, although we're gonna get to that too.
Yes.
But I want to talk about a book that changed my life. I recommend it to every woman I meet. It'll change your life, okay? And it is called, Krista, read that, would you?
Pussy, a Reclamation.
By Regena Thomashauer. I don't know that I spelled that pronounced that name correctly, but also known as Mama Gina, who runs the School of Womanly Arts in New York.
You should check her out on Instagram at Mama Gina as well. She holds a special place in our hearts because we were able, oh my God, to get permissions to speak about and showcase her book in our feature film.
It affected my life and your life so much that we have to scream it from the rooftops. This woman is a goddess of femininity and pleasure.
Of women of all ages, shapes, sizes, backgrounds, race, religion, whatever, and however you attach to being a woman, it's embracing yourself.
Yeah. Reclaiming our bodies, our sexuality,
Digging
our
out-
joie de vivre,
Digging
our
out
passion.
all that like shame that our society and shame and guilt that our society puts on us, and reconnecting with yourself.
Learning how to love ourselves fully, and that comes from embracing and loving all parts of ourselves, even the parts that we were raised and taught to shame or despise. So I found this book a couple years ago. I realized I was struggling with not feeling very connected to or safe in my body, in all facets of life, but also in particular when trying to enjoy sex with a partner. I felt like I just wasn't connected. I didn't feel safe. I didn't really feel anything. So I realized, you know what? I feel like I need to do a little research here. I need to learn how to get in touch with and re-embrace my femininity, because I think for a while I got turned off. Maybe I was scared of my own femininity and sexual power and pleasure, and I just cut it out of my life. So this was one of the books I stumbled on.
Well,
I'm pretty sure I Googled books on femininity.
Yeah. And I think also what we should say there of like, as women who have always felt pretty connected to themselves and felt like they were really able to connect with partners and enjoy intimacy, and then a couple experiences that you had.
I experienced some sexual trauma, which can lead to, for a lot of women, to disassociation from our body, or a lack of feeling and numbness when trying to explore sexual pleasure with a partner. But it was beyond sex and sexuality, right? It was more so I just felt lost. I didn't have a lot of lust for life or a lot of personal passion, because let's be real, although the idea of eroticism and pleasure and charge for life can come from sex and sexuality, it's also just our own passion and purpose, our aliveness within ourself, right? We are actually the greatest source of our own pleasure. There are so many ways to tap into your pleasure as a woman.
But I wanted to note there, which I think is a really important topic, that we maybe took for granted our easier accessibility to tap into sexual pleasure, and that experience of you having to face, for the first time in my life, this doesn't feel the way that it did.
Easy.
That it opened up our mind to the fact that a lot of women do struggle from not being as comfortable or as open sexually, or not feeling the same levels of pleasure that we had experienced quite easily. And so that kind of led you down a journey to do a little more self-discovery, and for both of us to be a little more cognizant of, let's take a look at women's experiences outside of our own and dig a little deeper to what those experiences are.
What it came down to was recognizing that we put a lot of value, we search outside of ourselves a lot for our sources of pleasure or validation or joy and passion. And that journey, this journey that I went on first by reading this book, really taught me that I am and can be the greatest source of my own sense of personal pleasure, of personal satisfaction, of love and joy and compassion and empathy. And, erotic charge for life, and also in sexuality as
that
well.
there are ways outside of specifically sexual or intimate pleasure that you can yourself, you have full governing power to tap into in order to kind of liberate yourself and feel more passion or joie de vivre in your life. So
if anyone follows Mama Gina on Instagram, you'll see she is a #1 advocate of movement for women. Well, for anyone really. Dance as a way to connect with your passion and lust for life, to get connected.
I mean, you know, a song, right? A song has the power to take you to many different places and many different emotions. If you're getting married, the wedding song is that nostalgia moment of love that you'll carry for the rest of your life. Every time you hear that song, you'll be transported to your wedding. If you were, you know, nostalgia for a teenage, the first time you had a dance and the first time you liked really danced with you, then you have that song and it's connected to you for their whole life. It has the power to, and to take us on journeys of someone else, you know, a sad song makes you release an emotion that you've been carrying that someone else's words kind of speak to you, right? It has the power to make us feel many things.
To transform us or, you know, uplift us. And
right, so there's a song for every feeling, I guess is what I was going to say. Every way you want to express, there's a song for it.
So the beauty of movement being that we do actually store different emotions in different parts of our body. Anger and shame are stored in the hips. So for women especially, we're kind of taught that you're not really supposed to express those emotions. You're supposed to stuff them down. So they get trapped in our body. So dance is a very easy and fun, who doesn't love a good dance party, fun way to work through and release some of those stuck emotions and find that sense of joy. Because, you know, everything is opposites, right? We cannot fully experience pleasure unless or until we get in touch with our anger, our sadness, our grief, and actually work through those things and let them go. So dance is one easy way. Everyone has about 2 minutes in a day to put a song on and boost their mood.
And I was going to say, if you hear the word dance, you're like, oh, I'm not a dancer, I can't dance. Yes, everyone can just move your body. You can flail. You can just tap your foot. You can move, just shake your hips from side to side. It can be as little or as much as you want, right? It's like, it doesn't have to be organized,
and it's not
routine,
performative.
Choreographed dance.
Find
it's just
a private
moving
space
your body.
and just move your body in whatever way feels good to find your own sense of joy and passion for the day. And when I was on this journey, I did a lot of different research and looked for a lot of sources of teachers to provide me opportunity to learn about somatic breathing and movement practices. And one thing that I found really helpful was in embodiment work, the concept of shaking, right? And how it was described to me is, have you ever seen a dog when it's scared, right? Its little body or big body shakes, right?
Yeah.
So essentially it does that to release the trauma so that it's not stored in its body, it's experiencing it and it's releasing it. So if you're not a dancer and you don't feel comfortable with dance moves, a great thing to do is just shake your body, shake your legs,
Like,
shake
your
hips.
hands, shake your head. It can be as little or as big as you
shake
want.
the feeling out of your body. So you've acknowledged it, you process it, and then you can let it go so that you can then focus on more pleasure in your life. Yeah. And so again, one concept that we've always loved from this book.
Yeah.
Swamping. Carissa, do you want to elaborate on swamping?
Again, not to plug our film all the time, but like there is a scene in our film, our directorial debut feature film called The Blackbird that's being released May 13th. So in a couple weeks' time, you can go watch it if you haven't. But there's a scene, once again, we were so lucky she allowed us to use her concepts and talk about her work. But yeah, there's a scene in it where we do this exact thing, swamping. It's not about being pretty. It's not about being performative, as we feel so often as women we have to be. You feel an emotion, you're overwhelmed, you get up, you scream, you grab a pillow, you could scream into a pillow, you could make growl noises on the ground, you could shake. She describes it in the book, not to give too much away, but she puts garbage bags on and grabs pots and pans.
She makes herself feel as ugly and messy and nasty as she can.
She becomes,
and then she just,
I guess, like she becomes the
her own version of her like monster.
So she can like act it out and really feel it and give an out to
runs
it.
around the house, banging pots and pans, screaming. I say it all the time. Sometimes I'm like, Carissa, I need to go downstairs and rage, which is me on my hands and knees, I guess emulating my inner like lioness, just screaming, growling, whatever it is. It's animalistic. It's uncomfortable. I wouldn't want anyone to see it, but it feels so
I see it.
She's seen it.
It's a little scary. It's a little scary sometimes.
Oh, but God, it feels good.
Yeah. But
I'm
also,
always trying to push her. I'm always trying to get her.
But you don't
down
have
there
to.
Raging.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to look that way for you. Is what I was going to say. Yes. Kat and I. There's many different ways to express that. Kat and I are completely different. When I get to that point of overwhelm, I'm like, I gotta like cry. I gotta like sway and like cry and let it come out. It's like a lot more like cathartic. Like I'm melting into a pile on the floor, and then Kat's down there like a lion. Like,
it's different for everybody, right? However you need to release
Yeah.
any icky emotions that you're not holding them and denying yourself all the pleasures that life has to offer.
The same as everything in life. Each human is unique and individual and has their ways of processing stuff. So you can, take your time to find out how in your body that like fits or feels, but also challenge yourself to maybe test out the lion.
When you know no one's watching and no one cares, just whatever feels right. Let your body, let your pussy tell you, as we'll say. We haven't even touched on that.
No.
Mama Regena. Listen to your pussy being your intuition, that guttural voice inside of us that we were taught and raised to push down and ignore, that inner sense of like femininity and intuition.
I mean, you can see in our little intro spot to our podcast. Kat says, what do I always say?
Listen to your pussy. It's one of my biggest catchphrases.
It's your intuition. It's that women have that gut intuition. It sits like deep in your stomach. It burns. You like feel it, and you're like, oh, I can't deny it. And we kind of get taught to like ignore it, or it's crazy, but no,
or
it's
deem
not.
it silly or stupid.
Yeah.
Because it is more intuitive based and less, it's listening to our body, getting into our bodies. This whole practice is about getting into your body and listening to that rather than being stuck in your head all the time.
Yeah. That is your pussy, and she wants you to live a pleasure-filled life.
She knows what you like. She knows what you want.
She's speaking to you.
Always. Answer the call, okay?
Heed her call.
And this is, again, beyond sex and sexuality, although we will get there because it is an important part of connecting with our body. You cannot love yourself fully unless you love all parts of yourself, even the parts you were taught or told you should be disgraced by or ashamed of.
Or that we should keep quiet and covered and don't talk about and don't, but be proud. We should be proud of our pussies.
Absolutely. And we're just going to keep saying the words. If you're uncomfortable, well, we're just going to get used to it, okay?
Yeah.
But again, the essence here being when we do listen to ourselves, we can be guided as to daily in small ways and big ways all the time, little sources of joy within us that we're denying. I don't have time for that, or there's too many other things on my plate. It's learning to acknowledge what does my body need? What do I need to feel more joy and pleasure in my life? And taking those moments. Is it 5 minutes of uninterrupted time to sit with your coffee in the sunshine a day? Is it putting on a playlist that makes you happy and dancing along while you get dressed in the morning?
Is it, if you're single, is it putting on a pretty little slip on a Saturday night and having your own little date, which we've done many
Sensual
times.
Saturdays, we started probably after this, right?
Yeah,
I hadn't
3 years
really been
ago,
dating for a
2
bit,
years
and
ago.
she is a long distance partner. And I said, I'm done waiting for someone to ask me on a date. I'm going to romance myself. Every Saturday, I'm going to get myself done up, whether it's a sexy little slip or a dress, whether I want to wear makeup or no makeup.
Sometimes in the winter, the slip is also accompanied by a big cozy sweater and like giant socks, because that just feels the sexiest at that time.
We make ourselves a nice meal. We light some
Cozy.
candles. We watch, if I want to cry, I'll watch a movie that makes me sad. If I want to feel romantic, I'll listen to a certain playlist.
Yeah, sometimes we're like French music on. Let's go to France tonight.
Romance yourself, find girlfriends, romance each other, right?
Yeah.
We don't need sources outside of ourselves, although those are great and fun too.
Yeah.
It's nice to be asked on a date and have plans.
Or we don't necessarily need it to be a romantic or intimate partner who provides those spaces for us. We can romance ourselves and romance each other in specifically platonic and loving friendship ways as well. We put so much emphasis on romantic love in our society, but there's so many types and versions of love. We all need more love in our life, and we have the ability to invite those kinds of relationships in and to facilitate romance, pleasure, full, battery charging outside of romantic situations.
I dare you to start thinking about pleasure in a broader spectrum. What gives you pleasure? What could you do or find every day? How could you facilitate your sense of joy and eroticism for life and passion and charge every day? Right? For me, it might be spending time with my cats. kissing the little beans on their paws. It's adorable to me. It brings me great, great joy and pleasure. Taking a long walk. If I have a free afternoon, taking a long walk, me, the sunshine, the open country road, alone with my mind. What is it? What gives you pleasure?
I love to shut the lights all off in the bathroom, light a candle, and take a really long steam.
Yes.
I call it a shower bath. I don't necessarily have time for a bath or want to do that. I just sit down in the bathtub and let the water kind of pour on me. And like, that's my own time. That's where my mind gets to wander. It's like safe and dark and quiet, and I can be alone with myself. It's different for everyone.
It's taking the time and finding the importance in connecting with ourselves, connecting with my body, learning to listen to what she wants, what she desires, and giving her that so she can feel loved and safe.
Sometimes it's a glass of wine. Sometimes it's a piece of chocolate. Sometimes it's baking something. Sometimes it's going to the park and swinging on the swings like you did when you were 12-year-old, and or having a popsicle while you did it because that's something that brought you joy when you were young. And why do we deny those childlike pleasures in ourselves even though we're adults?
It's, as the title says, a reclamation, right? So reclaiming those things, those places we find joy. They're not silly, they're not frivolous, they're not ridiculous. We need to reclaim ourselves, our body, all parts of ourselves, our passion, our love, our pleasure. Let's look at the title in general, Pussy, right? Why did Mama Gina feel so insistent on using that as a title? What connotation do we have with that, right? Where do we hear that word?
It has become
an insult.
A negative thing
used to describe someone who is weak,
or cowardice, which
isn't that
bizarre because
ironic?
The pussy is the strongest thing in this planet.
It is a vortex, a life force. It births.
It expands and opens
into
up
the world
to push heads and shoulders out of it. I mean, what is stronger than that? The ability to grow,
the strongest
expand,
thing
and
on
contrast.
the planet. And then also you think about the actual anatomy of the pussy, right? The clitoris has 8,000 nerves, all designed just for our pleasure, right? How expansive is that?
Yeah,
isn't that wild?
You're
and
walking
yet she's
around
so
with
dismissed.
You're walking around with a beautiful
a
magical little button on your body.
Beautiful little pleasure portal.
And it's time you start claiming that button.
Absolutely. And so how do we do that? Okay. So now we're gonna get into this stuff a little bit here. Yeah.
You wanted me to do
self-pleasure. Yeah. Has anyone actually done yoni gazing? Where you actually just stop. Okay, what are we told about our bodies? Like the vagina, since you're a child, your pussy. Don't touch, don't look at it, don't talk about it, don't think about it, right? We're taught to feel ashamed of it, to be scared of it. It's, it's so mysterious and so deep.
To worry about how different it is from what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, it's judged and insulted constantly, right? So why do we feel disconnected to this part of our body? Well, we are raised to. So how do we learn to claim and love all of ourselves? Well, that means you got to claim and love all parts of yourself, including your pussy. Okay, so it's an interesting practice, right? And it's not actually sexual. It's just like, have you actually stopped to look at her, to look her right in the eye?
Hold a mirror up to her.
And
square in the eye.
And bear witness to her abundant beauty. And uniqueness and stunning ethereal grace. Have you ever? And if you haven't, I think you should try it.
And maybe while you're there, maybe draw like a self-portrait to, hang up somewhere in your home that you could see every day. Or, hang it on, like people do sticky notes on their mirror in their bathroom.
Yeah.
Hang a self-portrait of your yoni
reclaim
on the mirror in your bathroom so you see it every day and it becomes so natural and so beautiful.
What we consume becomes our regular and our norm. And I know this might sound really uncomfortable to a lot of people. It did to me too. But don't worry. Get this book, Pussy of Reclamation. Mama Gina walks you through the whole process of learning to become accustomed to, understand, and love your pussy for all she has to offer.
You don't have to do it right away just because, you heard us and we said to. That's
steps.
A process on your own, and take your time with it.
And I know we started off by saying...
Actually, we don't have self-portraits, so we should probably draw self-portraits.
That should probably be, Sensual Saturday, maybe. I mean, we'll go to like different quarters and then we can show
it's a solo practice, but...
Yeah, it doesn't
But we have other sticky notes or messages to ourselves on our mirror in our bathroom. We should absolutely have our yoni in our bathroom.
I want to see her. I want to see her in all her glory every
I don't know.
damn
You know,
day.
that idea that came to me here during this talk. This is why we do what we do.
This is why we have these conversations.
Talking to you all, put this idea in my head. As I'm searching for ways to help you do it, I thought of another way to help myself do it. And now Kat and I are absolutely going to have our own self-portrait evenings and then present them in our home for us to see all the time. Why have we never done this?
I don't know. But you live and learn.
I want to see a collection. I would love to see a collection of yoni self-portraits. I'd love them to be shared to our social media or to our email.
Whoever out there listening, if you decide to do this, we would love to see your pussy portrait.
Yeah, please. You could send it to, you could either, if you feel comfortable sharing loud and proud, as I hope you do,
on social media,
you could tag us at Sister Strain or send it to us in our DM, or you could
clarify. We're not
us.
talking about taking a photo of your yoni. We're talking about art, a painting or a drawing.
What that looks like to you, or how you want to express yourself. Or you can email us, contact@sisterstrain.com. You don't have to, but that's kind of cool. What a fun project.
Yeah, I think that would be beautiful.
Yeah. And maybe we'll share ours once we get them.
We were actually, a quick aside, talking about this recently because we have a girlfriend, Meg, who we've introduced you to, who makes these lovely vulva earrings. And we like to do crafting when we have our girls' nights, when we have our sensual Saturdays together. And we were talking about, actually, I re-explored pussy at Reclamation. And one thing she was discussing is how we've gotten to a society of hating our female bodies. But when you go back centuries, there are so many statues that have been unearthed of Venus,
the goddess
Venus, who is the essence of femininity, and she is just
so
kind,
full,
juicy, juicy boobies,
just
and
round and supple and full.
Yes, and this isn't to say that we're suggesting that should be the ideal feminine body type. No. That's not it at all. It's not really about physical body appearance at all.
About
more
essence.
So it's about the concept that women should be full of wisdom and knowledge and passion and
we
lust
should
for
stop
life.
Like the idea of cultural thinness. We should stop trying to minimize and shrink ourselves in all ways. And again, that has nothing to do with outward physical appearance. It's the essence of that you take up.
The juiciness. Yeah. And so we thought maybe for our next ladies' night we should get some clay and sculpt our own goddess Venus.
Yeah. Or our own, our goddess, our goddess represents.
It could be self-representative.
So there's another really fun girls' night activity. God, we have to start orchestrating women's nights.
Yes.
First will be a self-portrait yoni night, and then we'll do a Venus
Anyone who wants is invited to the Artist Loft downstairs on a Saturday night for Sensual Saturday. Satin robes are usually sort of required.
Yeah.
We have plenty we can share. No, it's all about your own sense of expression. We like to feel sultry and sensual on our sensual Saturdays.
Yeah.
That means something different for everyone. I got a little off topic there.
Speaking of pussy, though, and again, this is one of those things, since it's our first time doing this, I'm like, how much can you all hear outside stuff? Because our pussycat has been scratching at the door, making a lot of noise, and I'm hearing
little monster.
I'm hearing it in my earphones.
Away at the door.
Hopefully you don't hear it, but you know what? They just want to chime in on the fact that the word derived from a lot of English language that was first used to describe the cat, and then became.
They're reclaiming the word too. It's theirs, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So we're all working together on this,
and we're taking those negatives. How do we reclaim things? We take the negative connotations away, or we just stop playing into them. And we say, "Pussy, I'm gonna love this word, just like I'm gonna love my own physical incarnation of that word. I'm going to choose to love it despite the shame I've been raised to feel about it. How do I do that? I connect with her. I learn her. I understand her. I honor her. I feed her compliments.
Yeah.
I get to know her on a deeper level. So yes, that can be done through self-pleasure. Yeah. And it's in this book and also in another book I'd really like to bring up. And there's so many, this book, Naomi Wolf, Vagina. Take a look at that. I didn't know what I was getting into when I bought this book, okay? It was called Vagina, and I was looking into feminist and feminine-themed books. There's so much interesting information and knowledge in
How
here.
much do you know about your vagina?
We're going to talk about this book a lot, but there's one specific thing, and it's a through line in both of these books when it comes to female pleasure, okay? Let's think about this. Like I already said, the 8,000 nerves in the clitoris alone, which is wild, right? We were built for pleasure. So we should be experiencing a lot of it. Besides that, the actual nervous system in our pelvic region as women's, yeah, is
as the women's is that we are.
Yeah. It can't be, there is no one standard when you look at these nervous systems and how they engage the different bones and organs and muscles within our pelvic region, every woman's nervous system in the pelvic region is so vastly different, which is comparatively, and it talks extensively about this in this book, which I find fascinating. She was on a quest to understand why she had an injury, I think in her spine. And she was finding that when she was engaging in sex with her partner, which is usually very beautiful, and she would always feel very enlivened and impassioned after, she was feeling a little bit lackluster. And she thought, that's so weird. I want to understand, is there a connection to women, like our orgasm and sense of creativity and lust for life?
Or is it all in our head, as we've been told?
As women are always told, right? So she had, and I can't get into the depths of it, she did all these studies, spoke to various different doctors to find out, unlike the male system, which is pretty standard, how the nerves are arranged and organized within their genital region, women are so skewed and so different and very, very extensive, okay? That region, those nerves, are all tied directly into our spine and therefore our brain, okay? So our capacities for creativity and imagination...
So it's not in our heads, but it is...
It's in our heads. It's in our whole body,
heads,
okay? It's all connected. Our capacity to find that creativity, that joie de vivre, that lust for life is directly tied into our womb space and her health and how happy she is. And if she feels good, and if she's getting treated right.
Yeah.
And isn't that crazy?
Is she getting treated right?
So, you know, when I read that, I thought, okay, so anytime anyone's had a dusty-ass lover, try to tell them, I don't get it, my ex loved that, so there must be something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? Try a different handbook. What works on one woman is not going to work on another,
and
right?
I think that's just half of it, is that female pleasure has been not deemed a priority in our society. And so men, it's just, sex has become a thing that's mostly about their pleasure, and it's more performative for women, or tends to be often. And so we're not taking the time to really spend the moments to understand each unique woman and how sex differentiates for, you know, every woman you might come into contact with as a partner.
And it is outward, of course, but also, how could I be a better teacher and advocate for what I like? Well, I need to explore my body a little bit. I need to know what parts of my body feel enlivened and impassioned by touch or stimulation. What parts are a no for me? What turns me on? This book, VAGINA, is all about turn on, okay? And it's beyond sexuality. It's just what makes me feel good. What is a yes for me? What is a full-bodied yes? So doing self-exploration, me getting more comfortable with my body and my pussy and learning what I like and don't like, enables me to be a better advocate for myself.
I'd love to pop in with a couple stats that I had.
As she do.
Yeah. You know, we do like to check.
Let's bring it back to some logic. Hers is a little more left-brained. She's a little more logic-based.
One of us has to be tech savvy,
One of us
so we can do stuff like this.
One of us has to tether us down.
It wasn't always the case. I really had to train myself.
Okay, go ahead. Share your stuff.
Okay, so I did want to just tap into some statistics about when it comes to women and pleasure, especially during sexual intercourse with a partner. And this is specifically going to be more in line with penile penetration. I know that's not every woman's experience, but for the Datsun study that we're doing, it's specifically for heterosexual relations. So, well, I guess, no, I mean, it could be with a dildo or another toy. It's just penetration. Yeah. Share. I'm like, well, okay. No, this is about clitoral
stimulation. Don't overthink it.
This is about whether women are able to come just from penetration or whether there needs to be added stimulation. Okay. So
we could just say whether vagina owners, whether pussy owners.
Anyway, the U.S. No, I was just saying it doesn't necessarily mean that there needs to be a male partner present for penetration. So
no, of course not.
This is overarching, just whether. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna go in. I'm gonna stop talking.
You go, girl.
I'm overthinking it now. Okay.
Yeah.
The study was done in 2015 with over 1,000 women. It was a confidential internet survey from women ages 18 to 94. It was done in the U.S. And so they completed this survey and they found that 18.4% of women report intercourse alone, so like penetration alone, was not sufficient at achieving orgasm. 36.6% reported clitoral stimulation was needed in order to experience orgasm. And 36% also stated that while maybe the clitoral stimulation was not necessary to achieve it, the orgasm felt better if both were involved. The study also showed that most women reliably experience orgasms from masturbation, but that number drastically decreased when they were experiencing intercourse with a partner. So, and I was looking at this because we think about in our society, and I was reading another article and it was being like, when you see magazines like GQ or I don't even know what other names, but when it comes to female sexuality, often it's like, oh, we now discovered the women have the G spot. They can come from this spot here. Or like talking about when this little more graphic, but like, oh, women, if you hit this spot, like a lot of women will squirt. And I've had,
women can
men,
ejaculate.
who had men who were like, oh, are you a squirter? Something like that.
Or they're like, really trying to.
They're like trying to get you to do that of like this unattainable, or talking about multiple orgasms. Oh, women are lucky because they can have multiple orgasms. But the thing about that is like in our society, okay, so now women were expected to be a great mother. We're expected to be a professionally. Essentially,
we're doing everything to everyone.
Yeah, so we have to be the mother. We have to be the professional. We have to balance all that. And then also we have to be
a porn star.
Because our sexual intimacy is performative. And so it does change your experiences with a partner because there's a lot of pressure added on it. And then for both the men and the women, I think about a performance.
And what deflates a female eroticism more? Pressure.
Yeah. And in the other study I was looking at, it was like, so for speaking to both women and men, and these are the stats they collected on both those sides. So the women said that they averaged, these are averages. The women orgasmed 31 to 40% when there was no clitoral stimulation, it was just penetration, and 51 to 60% of the time when there was clitoral stimulation. Now, the men also were asked the same question, so they were guessing what they thought the stats were. They guessed slightly higher than the women in both brackets, 41 to 50% when unassisted and 61 to 70% when assisted. So I find that interesting because the men are aware that although they're gauging a little higher, they are aware that a lot more women need that clitoral stimulation. And I found this all really interesting because there was a woman who was speaking on it, and there was a doctor who was like, for women's ability to orgasm with penile stimulation alone just might not be a thing for the mere fact that women's bodies are all made differently, and the distance between the clitoris and the vagina varies. And so some women, it's like the clitoris just isn't close enough to the vagina to be able to allow that stimulation to take them to orgasm. And it's like, so how would we know about this? There would need to be more studies done on female anatomy, which is a huge gender data gap in our society.
Absolutely. And why aren't there more studies done? Well, like a lot of things with the female experience, it's so varied and skewed, as I expressed with the nerve system that we all have down there being so unique and vastly different that they'd rather just be like, you know what? We can't. It's too much.
But we have this thing of women are being like, oh, what's wrong with me? I see other women having orgasms from that, but I can't have it. It's like, because your bodies are all made differently. Your body isn't made just for that. Like there needs to be a little extra stimulation, or it just needs to be done slightly differently. And I just find it funny that we see these newspaper articles and or magazine articles about the G-spot, about multiple orgasms and all this stuff that's being studied. I'm like, okay, but why aren't we just studying the mere fact of female anatomy so we can understand that like no two vaginas are made the same, and some women will just have to have intercourse in slightly different ways to support them.
Need different things to acquire
pleasure. Forget about the G-spot, the squirt, and the multiple orgasms. Can we just do the science to make sure that every woman experiences pleasure?
Absolutely. And so we can't change that, unfortunately. We'll be talking about it. But we can change our own studies, okay? We can start doing studies on ourselves. We can get a little more comfortable with our body. Mm-hmm. Say hello.
Wait, did you say a little more uncomfortable with
No, comfortable.
Okay.
Take a little more pride in our pussies. Why is there so much pressure during sex with a partner? They have all these preconceived notions about the pussy and what she wants and desires. We have all these preconceived ideas about what we're supposed to look like or smell like or feel like or how she's supposed to be perceived. And that's completely taking away the eroticism of the experience. So what can we do? Well, I would highly recommend everyone go find a copy of Pussy, a Reclamation.
Learn more
about your body.
The power of your pussy.
Learn to love her. Get acquainted with her. Learn to listen to her. She will tell you what she needs. And once you learn to listen to that voice, guess what? These two sets of lips are connected. You'll start using your voice much more.
She loves to say that.
I know. It's not ironic that women are born with two sets of lips. Why are we stifling both of our voices? Okay, yeah. They should be heard.
That's the thing, right? It's like if it's something that for generations and centuries has been shushed, quieted, there's this one limited belief about it, and then women are too shamed to like talk about it or speak about it to each other or speak about it to the opposite sex or just anyone publicly, then we're keeping those stigmas alive.
We're reiterating it.
We need to be having the conversations. We need to be doing the learning for ourselves. We need to be bold and brave enough to experiment and figure out what our body needs to provide us the pleasure that we so desire. We need to be able to express that to our partners. If it's an intimate partner, there should be the safety and the confidence to be able to communicate that.
But it starts,
and then on a grander scale, having broader discussions about it where we're sharing the knowledge.
Absolutely. And like my journey, which led me to this book, and now to want to share, feel impassioned to share this, is it starts with us. How do we cultivate that sense of safety and pride and pleasure within ourselves first, right? Mm-hmm. Because when we say pussy and we're talking about, parts of our body, what it really boils down to is our femininity, which we've been taught to feel ashamed of and to push aside and to not listen to or explore or embrace, right? So really it comes down to fully getting in touch with who we are at our feminine core and learning to embrace those things that make us feminine. And we stumbled over this, and I really want to bring up this resource. There's an Instagram site called the Patriarchy Project, which talks about a lot of different topics of topics that brought up in the patriarchy, disparities, a lot of female experiences. And I read one recently which was about how things that women love, actually I have it up here, I'm going to read what the exact article is, because again, the Meraki Project, the MERAKI Project on Instagram.
I'll share all this in our resources and our wherever we're posted.
This article is How Society Dismisses Women's Interests and Crowns Men as Culture. So as women, why do we actually have such a hard time finding pleasure and joy in life besides sex and sexuality? Well, the things that we love we're usually mocked for. Loving Taylor Swift, trivial. Reading romance novels, and chick flicks. Mm-hmm. Why are all of those things deemed silly and outrageous and ridiculous? But then men who love video games or war films or science fiction, that's lauded as, that's culture, that's guy culture, right? Mm-hmm. And it comes down to the shame surrounding anything that is.
We were talking about one too, just
feminine.
The idea of women like knitting or crocheting. And it's like there was a time when families relied on that for clothing, for mittens, for blankets, for pot holders. When you're cooking, like there was all kinds of things that like women had to sew and knit and crochet to be able to provide these things for the family. And now it's like a trivial little like women thing.
Why silly little women
because hobby. Industrialization came in and men took over factories and created all this clothing and mass production, and we don't have the need for that anymore. But it's like, well, the desire to like create things with your hands and provide didn't just go away. Like it's still an art. It's still a beautiful art.
It's culture the culture we're living in that tells us that these things are silly or frivolous or ridiculous because they're feminine. So again, the whole concept of today's conversation is how do we reclaim those things? If it gives me joy, I'm reclaiming it. If I like listening to Taylor Swift and I want to quote her song lyrics, I'm going to reclaim it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to reclaim it.
If I like wearing vulvas dangling from my earring.
Absolutely. Reclaiming it loud and proud. I used to love romance novels, and I think I would describe it as like my secret joy, or there's like, like why? Why is that a secret
joy?
Stop
saying guilty pleasure. It's
guilty
just a
pleasure is the word.
There's no guilt involved in it. Take it out.
Reclaim it. Okay, so, pick up Pussy Reclamation. Or also to Vagina by Naomi Wolf. Great resources.
Or just try and look at some like quicker, smaller articles if you like, if you want
check out the Meraki Project. Start getting acquainted with yourself.
Yeah.
Try yoni gazing. I dare you. Just once.
Please,
just for a second.
Get those self-portraits.
Yeah, do some self-portraits. Craft yourself a Venus clay mold.
To look up to every day that is representative of you and your womanhood.
Yes. Find ways to cultivate your pleasure every single day, no matter how big or small that action is, and start putting in your view and in your day regularly points of pride for femininity.
And think of the word like eros, okay? Say the word pussy, but in your head think eros.
Erotic charge.
It's your energy, your life energy.
My passion, my joie de vivre, my lust for life.
Yeah.
We all have such we're a deep well of capability when it comes to living passionate, fulfilled lives, okay? We're just not. We're denying ourselves.
We're just two women sitting here who want you to be so damn passion-filled. We want you to claim your pussies.
We want you to have so much pleasure.
Yeah.
Be overcome by pleasure daily, okay?
We want you to have no shame or guilt around any of those things that you enjoy, that mean something to you, that provide you the romance, the charge, we all need our batteries charged, right? Whatever that is that charges your battery, Get more acquainted with what brings you pleasure and do it regularly and consistently as often as you can.
Yeah.
And so that's our talk about pleasure. And what we want to talk about next time is let's get a little bit deeper on some of the things that prohibit us from accessing these pleasure points so that we can demolish them and live limitless lives filled with pleasure. And so I want to introduce you to another favorite book of mine. Carissa, would you like to tell us the title of the book and show us?
Well, were you going to do this as our sign-off?
Yeah, it is.
Well, so maybe we'll do it
you can express.
So I just wanted to say real quick, just another note, if you do happen to want to share your yonis, your self-portraits, love to see them. We'll try and share ours too.
Absolutely.
But just to wrap that up, of how serious we are about those self-portraits. I want every woman to have a self-portrait of their yoni all over their house.
Yeah, I feel like we said this already.
Yeah,
so what is the book for next week? Carissa, tell us the title. I want you to tell us the title.
Cunt.
A Declaration of Independence. And on that note,
now here I'm just because I thought Kat was doing a clever thing.
Where we didn't just
say,
really ruining the line
because you wouldn't say the title at all.
Just say. I wanted you to say the title, and then I wanted to say, "See you next time."
And
wouldn't that have been perfect? But she just couldn't.
Wouldn't it have been more clever if we never mentioned the title at all, and then just said, "See you next time," and then cut it?
Yeah, unfortunately, not everyone is watching. Some people are listening over podcast, and they're not going to see that book.
Yes, but they would have heard the "see you next time" and understood what it meant.
No.
Yeah.
And this is the problem when one of us has organized an idea and we assume that the other twin should just be getting it and they're not.
You said we were just going to show it at the end, and she's expecting me to pick up the book and know exactly what's in her head. Meanwhile, I'm thinking she just wants to do a sign-off.
You really ruined the ending of this podcast.
Yeah. Gosh, and this is, guys,
okay,
this is our
juicy read.
This is our unfiltered reality of being twins, okay? This is it. It's not always perfect, and we argue. And Kat, just finish up the way you'd like
to. Juicy read. We're going to discuss it next time. See you then. You've been listening to The Sister Strain.
If you've got something you'd like to share with us, reach out to us. contact@sisterstrain.com.
Yours in sistership, The Sister Strain.